those who can find the words, share your story. Speak your truth. Let me hear and understand. Let me stand with you.
Black, but I am more. More than this image you have painted I to be.
I am more than what your eyes can see.
An image that really isn't mine, when what you think, what you perceive, and what you see isn't what I define.
Is assimilation your version of free? I am Métis. Do you see what I see?
This is where I was standing in line, my first day of school, 6-year-old me, nervous, shy, scared, and feeling a little alone when that boy, who I don't actually know his name, looked at me and pointed and said, "Hey, Brownie." And I just was taken aback and I started to cry. The teacher who came by really made a big deal of it and called the student out and made me feel better and asked me if I was okay. And that experience showed me the value of what it means to step up and take a stand for someone else who's suffering or in pain or in a struggle. I think the value of that was instilled in me at that age, and I hope that I can carry that on.
We all have a story within us, and we each have a voice like no other. If one voice holds so much weight, imagine what we could say together. As a community advocate, I'm always searching for ways to create connections. I know that art is a powerful tool to build understanding, but I wanted to see this in action. So, I decided to conduct a small social experiment. I've invited 4 unique up-and-coming spoken word artists to share experiences and collaborate on a piece. Abdul, Kateland, Yazan, and Zohra have all agreed to meet. So far, they seem intrigued by the idea, but we'll see where this journey takes us.
This is my first time doing like a collaborative piece.
When Shahzad approached me, I wasn't hesitant to say yes. I was just hesitant to accept something that I might not want to go through fully. I didn't want to drop out halfway because I didn't know what I was getting into.
I've never done this before. Like, I don't know anything about any of these people.
I did have a fear with our ideas clashing.
My first year, if I remember correctly, I was the only non-white student in all of like grade 7, 8, and 9. Like my skin color is like basically white. So like no one would know until like I would tell them, hey, I'm not from here. One day at lunch, one kid was like, hey, where are you from? I was like, oh, I'm from Palestine. He's like, what, Pakistan? I was like, no, Palestine. He's like, Pakistan, all the same thing. And then at that exact moment, I looked at him like, no, it's not the same thing. Like, you can't just say that. So I was like, oh, how would you feel like being called an American? He was like, but I'm not American. I'm like, it's the same. And then one day, this guy, we're playing soccer, he goes to me, he's like, you're a terrorist. And then I'm like, what? And no one cared. Everyone was like, oh, whatever, like it's a joke. But I didn't take it as a joke, right? So I looked at him like, why are you calling me a terrorist? He's like, because, you know, your country bombs people, this and that. I'm like, no, my country doesn't bomb anybody. Like, what are you talking about? And then at that time, like, I dealt with it. I was like, do I hurt you? Like, no. Have I done anything to you? No. And then I started educating everyone, like, around me in school, slowly. It's funny enough, this guy's now, like, one of my best friends. Some people tell me it's, like, it's not our job to, like, erase hate from people. But to me, it's like, if the opportunity arises that I can change someone's point of view, then I will do my best. Yeah, even if that takes from my own time, because that's for the betterment of the community. In grade 12, for English class, you had to write a poem. And at the time, I absolutely disliked poetry. I was not into it because the only poetry that I used to see was rhyming poetry. And to me, I thought that was lame. Like, I was like, if I'm forcing myself to rhyme, I'm losing a lot of meaning. And then at the time I went to my teacher, I was like, okay, I don't really want to do this if it's not really who I am. And she was like, oh, there's a thing called free verse poetry. Free verse is basically poetry where you can write whatever you want in any shape you want. And it's just expressing your thought. Ever since that day, I felt like I could express myself in words. You gotta watch what you say. And not in a fake way, like you actually gotta watch what you say. You know, like take care of like people. Because do you want people to take care of you, like take care of people's emotions? Yeah. I hope you see that no matter the belief, it is never a solution to let go. No matter how low you've reached, once you hit rock bottom, the only way is up, so get up and go. I've been in your shoes before, where I'd walk into a room and the temperature would turn from hot to cold, chilling the spines of those who see the zombie I've become. But here I am today with the biggest ego. So if you believe that you lost the battle, that there would be no tomorrow, think again and observe, for observing has filled that part of me that's hollow. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you very much. Well, when you're writing, is that how are you thinking of it as a full piece, or you just sort of free flow, you feel things come to you, or are you more planned? Like, I'm just trying to figure out your personal process.
Every time is different.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah. I never plan.
Spoken word, especially the personal ones, right? Like, you really have to probably sit down with that person and be like, man, where's this coming from, right? To really find out, what caused them to write a piece like that. You can hear my words, but where is it coming from and why? I was born in Sierra Leone, West Africa. I've been here away from my country for 17 years. I've only been back once. Most of my childhood, I lived in like a war-torn country in a way. My country has civil war that's lasted for about 10 years, so my childhood was pretty much running away from rebels, we call them. So when I came here, I had this past that I couldn't share with anyone, because one, you wouldn't want to give your friends nightmares when they go home about the things that you saw and everything that you had been through, so I kept that to myself. And then it wasn't until high school that my art teacher, I used to draw pictures and stuff like that about my past in a way, and then she started telling me, okay, maybe just write some things underneath it that describes the picture. So whenever I drew something, I would jot down like what it meant, and then eventually it became poetry. I didn't call it that at first until people started calling me a poet. So I was just like, okay, well, I guess that's who I am. Brothers we detest, dispose their best but keep the rest. Remove the shackles off their hands and let them claim freedom. For later we aim for their heads or chest. We testify to forgotten genocides, instigated wars amongst tribes, against nations, coups and assassinations, bloodstains on cotton plantations, caused my forefathers to cry out songs of redemption, freedom. Let us keep the gullible, control their minds, though cause no trouble. See, they were once great, but rewrite their history books so that all they can see is hatred and violence. Let white become their preference and replace the color black with misery. Let black signifies death so they know not their worth or history. Survival of the fittest. Society preying on the weak. They say change requires actions, not only words from the beak. See, I'm blessed with words, at times cursed. With memories I fight, my pen a sword. I used to fight ignorance. I can't remember the rest. That's it. Oh my God.
Thank you so much. That's
not
awesome.
a problem.
Thank you so much.
Not a problem, man.
Writing poetry is very new for me. I think I've always written things, but I didn't really think it was poetry. I'm Métis, so I'm like what most people would understand as being like half European descent and half First Nations. First Nations children in general, I don't think are visible. I don't think that they're seen as human. I think they're seen a lot of the time as a burden.
For either the general public or the community or people in positions of leadership who can stand up for people like this.
how can they stand up for them, or what should they do?
I think the main thing people have to do is changing the way that they look at each other. And it's very hard for me personally because I do look white, and I'm aware of the privilege that affords me in a lot of cases. So it's painful to hear people that, in particular that I care about, spoken about in certain ways that I know aren't true. I grew up in a very kind of unstable environment sometimes, and creating is how we make our challenges easier to carry. Sometimes when you're a creative person, you are driven by things outside of you. Scattered children in boxes, like leaves in the wind. Unknown markers and Jane Does at each river's bend. Asking questions to answers, back to questions again. Rubbing salt tears in sores and expecting to mend. Given softly sheathed meaning, waking stutter cuts and ash. The surprise you're still here when you belong in the trash. Thank you.
Thank you.
Do you think that it's a problem with the system of education, or like the lack of knowledge that people possess, where we don't know enough, and that's why we're so hesitant to accept all the wrong that has been done to the Aboriginals?
If you're not given the information, how can you empathize? How can you understand if you don't know?
I was probably like, I think I'd say 10. We went to a market, and this was in Ontario, Toronto. There was an old man, and he stopped my sister, and he was like, "This is a free country, you don't need to wear that." She was really taken aback. And when he said that, she was just silent, and then he started saying more stuff. He was like, this oppresses you, you're oppressed. And my sister was like, wow, like, and because she's never been through that situation, she didn't know how to react. And especially because she was a teenager. When he said that, the cashier started yelling at him, and she was like, if you say it's a free country, anybody can do what they want. They can wear what they want. And he started yelling at the cashier, but like, because the cashier got involved, a lot of other people got involved.
There's sort of like this block they have because they unfortunately don't see themselves in others. They see themselves as being separate.
After somebody stands up for you, you feel like, okay, well, if somebody stands up for me, I should stand up for myself too. Especially in situations where like you don't know if anybody else is going to stand up for you. You can't always rely on somebody else. You can't always, like expect somebody else to be your voice.
It may be in his case, from a very uneducated and ignorant place, that he's thinking he's standing up for your sister, right? He's coming in as this knight in shining armor, protecting her from the oppression of a headscarf or a hijab. How do you confront people who think that way?
I feel like it all depends on the tone. With him, I feel like it was very condescending with the tone he used, and I felt like you don't belong here because of what you wear. Yeah. If I'm dressing the way I want to dress and I wear what I want to wear, I feel liberated. Mm-hmm. With me, I'm not very open with my opinion. So like, even if somebody says something like, like this is like, I won't be open until I get to know them. I find spoken word is the only way I can express what I feel inside. It was kind of like I was living in a box, and then somebody like, opening that box for me. So fit into your society, don't you dare become unique. Correct me if I'm wrong, but heritage is not a sin. We're all from Adam and Eve, so please judge us from within. See, I don't know about you, but I'm still kind of confused as to why I was born in a country but still treated as a second-class citizen. Do you feel like because you're of Métis descent, you have to watch what you do, or like watch how you speak, or like how you talk to someone?
Definitely. I feel like sort of you do get put in the position of sort of having to be this like spokesperson or this like example for other people, when in reality it's like I'm one person.
I don't want to be a representative of a huge population of like billions of like people.
So we were trying to sort of explore the idea of how can spoken word be used as a tool for change.
It has to do with words, but it has to do with, I feel like, more of the emotion behind the words. This experience has been good because I feel like I'm actually able to hear on an emotional level how like things impact other people.
You can't live behind your ignorance in a way.
The lens that we're looking at each other through is not working.
It's very hard to talk about because like I don't usually have stereotypes with people. Like I'm a very easy to go with person. It's very important for this to acknowledge or tackle stereotypes that someone else might have, or maybe you might have inside of you that you didn't know you had.
Bob Marley is a musician I grew up listening to. He's one of the inspirations why I even picked up the guitar. You know, 'cause he was half white, half black, so he had to deal with, you know, persecution from both sides. You know, from his mom's side where people were like, okay, well, you're not black enough, and then his white family shunned him. He didn't want to take the black side or the white side. He was human in a way. You know, he tried to send out that message that regardless of what color I was, you know, I'm human first. I love, to only you. I love.
This is you as your own individual personalities, not necessarily representatives of a group, but representatives of yourself.
Well, the process is going good right now. We're brainstorming ideas.
When it was like, actually came down to like the group work time, I got this like little knot in my stomach from like being in school and like having to be a part of group projects.
I'm actually pretty excited about this whole project because I've never done something like this before.
So today we're brainstorming the piece that they're going to write collaboratively. We've had our sessions before where they've shared some of their own poetry, some of their own personal stories, and a bit about themselves. And now that they're at a point where they kind of know each other a bit more, we want them to start brainstorming the ideas behind the actual spoken word piece. We're going to do a visual representation of their ideas where they'll trace outlines of each other on the chalk wall that we have back there. And then afterwards, they'll fill in their own chalk outlines, words that represent either their identity or what they value or their personalities or things that they want to talk about in general with this theme of standing up.
It's a constant battle with like how I feel inside and what things are being portrayed. Everybody knows I'm Muslim, so the first thing that they think is she's suppressed, you know. I don't want to be that way, nor do I want to like be portrayed as that way.
It's very easy to judge when you just see someone first, right? But that's why it's important to actually get to know someone on the level that, you know, you can get to understand those things.
Like hers is like more like, okay, you know, you see like a Muslim girl on the street wearing a hijab, you just call her a terrorist, but like no one in the street is gonna randomly call me a terrorist, right? Like they'd have to know me, they'd have to call me, like, oh, you're not, where are you from? And be like, oh, you're from Pakistan, okay, you're a terrorist. Like,
I chose not just focusing on the negative, right? Because once you get to know someone, you start to realize the qualities that surpass the stereotypes that are all around him right there. So those are people who have chosen to dig deeper to find out who I really am. The warrior and the survivor part is based on where I was raised and overcoming a lot of obstacles in the way, because the war that happened, that kind of caused me to come here. Most of my family members didn't survive it, so me being here is for a good reason. So I see myself as a survivor, but I also have a lot of stuff to do here. So that's why I put leader over there, because someday I want to go back and do something for the people who raised me and people who need me back home. Like,
what do you mean by disposable?
I mean, it's the whole hands up, don't shoot thing, right? So it's like, what is my life really worth? If my life is not worth anything, then it's easy for you to just shoot me, or I don't know if that makes sense.
No, it does.
Yeah.
For Zohra's, for example, like things like they go back to your own country, which I've heard said to me too, right? You don't want that to come and ruin this internal identity that you have of yourself.
Do you ever feel like, because like maybe people perceive you as being really goofy, that they kind of maybe write off how serious you can be or how serious your feelings about things can be?
Yeah, actually, yeah. I feel like you don't need to be serious a lot of the time, and I'm only serious when I need to be serious. Because if everyone was serious all the time, the world would be a very harsh and rough place. And you're right, like people view me as goofy, dumb, because I'm not serious until I need to be.
You had too vocal there.
Yeah.
What have people said about you with being too vocal?
Just kind of, why do you care? What does it matter to you? I've even had people who were Métis or First Nations say, well, like, why, like, what does it matter? You can get away with being white, like, you know, it's easy for you. Why wouldn't you just, like not worry about it?
Just go with it kind of thing.
You know, but for me, it's not really productive for anybody.
Those values are very universal. And the things so far that are being labeled of you are ways that people are trying to separate you apart. They're trying to categorize you as this or that, when inside you share a lot of very similar values, right? Like there's parts of your identity that are unique, of course, but people are trying to put you in some sort of box, it seems, right?
Being able to share all of us has been really helpful for me. It makes you feel less alone, which I think is kind of what this is about too.
My hope is that they sort of help us and people who view this understand how these types of discussion groups or the art form itself can help people understand each other. And you know, maybe they'll become like a traveling 4-person group later on or something, I don't know. It'll just be cool to see how 4 unique artists can share their art. You guys feel good about this?
Yeah, excited.
Good.
Usually spoken word is written alone, like single, but now it's like 4 people at once. Like it's not even 2, it's like 4. I think like when he ends like here,
Yeah.
so we'll be like, I am.
It's almost like a crossfade, right? Like when you crossfade 2 songs.
Your brain is being downloaded to.
No, I did hear what you said. A little bit.
It's fine, keep
Just
going.
kinda red.
We don't want to take you out of your zone.
I'm Muslim. I'm Palestinian. I'm Canadian. This is my identity.
Black, but I'm more than this image you've painted for I to be. Black lost, black babies, black mothers despised, black's dreams shut down from skies. I think that's where I stopped.
Oh.
Awesome. Yeah.
Born in this country but a second-class citizen, raised with teachings but still not significant, rejected, exiled, suspected, subjected. Go back to your own country, chance of a whole crowd.
Nice.
Yeah. And what you could do is maybe the last 2 lines of Abdul's, you come in with him and you say it simultaneously, so it's like a transition. And then he lets off.
That'd be
Yeah.
so cool. I just transitioned from his last sentence. What was the last sentence again?
Fake it.
Fake it until you make it.
Mine is like fake it and you have privilege. Hers is like fake it just so you can live normally.
So I should change this to fake it until I make it. And you say
Body language would be very important because you'd be like fake it till I make it.
Exactly. You don't know me.
Yo, you could put that dude. Be like fake it till I make it. You don't know me.
I am more than this image you've painted I to be. I am Palestinian.
Oh yeah, actually that'd be really nice. That's a good ending. So it could be like I am more.
More than this
this.
image you've painted I to be. I am Muslim. And there you go.
Yeah. That's nice. Hey.
That's awesome. The part where you say more to his I am, and the part where you say like you're questioning each other, like this is the understanding you're building.
Or maybe all of us could be like, yeah, why not? Yeah.
Like in a conversation.
Yeah.
That's
so
cool.
it's like a dialogue.
Yeah.
Okay, let's try this.
Black mothers in black with tears in eyes. I am
More than this image you've painted I to be. And then I am Muslim, I am Palestinian, I am Canadian. This is my identity. So you might ask,
Why not just play along and be safe?
why not? Fake it till I make it.
Fake it until you make it, to integrate until I can transmit into this society. But to take off this cloth on my head creates anxiety. I wish Caitlin.
I know.
Just start. Oh my goodness, this is exciting.
This is nice.
Get it.
Ready to play now. Put me in the game now. I came here to prove it. I'm ready to do it. I can't be afraid now. Put me on the stage now. I'm ready to rage now. I feel like an animal stuck in a cage and I'm ready to break out. My time, my time. None of you people can tell me to stop.
What's a word for like, not over emotional, but
Sensitive.
like sensitive, but like you're making a big deal out of something that isn't a big deal. Is there a word?
Like,
You're touchy. You're being
Touchy. You're being a
prickly.
snowflake.
Basically, yes.
Yeah. You think that I'm a snowflake.
The process itself has been going really well. We've been able to help each other out, like, because writer's block does exist.
Hopefully I figure it out.
See if I can help. I can.
Yeah.
See.
I was stuck to write an outro and everyone helped me. This is so cheesy. I got it.
It doesn't have to be cheesy.
This
in
is
the way you
cheesy.
say it, right?
No, it's just cheesy. Alright, who's ready for the cheese? Okay. You think that I'm a snowflake because I look white? Sorry, I don't need your insight. I was gonna say to stand in my shoes. Nah, not anymore. Good night. I was just lost, and based on like Abdul's ending, based on Zohra's beginning, I came up with something. Nice, okay, that helps. That actually helps. I think it's very important to work with other people because certain words maybe you didn't know, they could help you, they give you a different feeling, different vibe to what I usually write. And I think that's important because in the long run, you just build more and you get more experience as an individual. Our ghostwriter is right here. Yeah, at the end of our performance, we'll be like, shout out to Shahzad for writing all our lines.
Ozali Zambe, Zambe, Nanga. Ozali Zambe, Zambe, Nanga. Zambe.
To understand what we're saying.
Yeah, I mean, the time might go. That's time for us.
Say only you. I love. Say only you. I love. Ozali Zambe, Zambe, Nanga. Ozali Zambe, Zambe, Nanga, Zambe.
I want everybody to hear what we have to say.
It is my first actual performance.
When you get up there, your heart starts beating. The minute you forget a line, maybe it might not come back, but I have forgotten lines before.
I'm really nervous. I won't lie.
It sounds really cool right now. I mean, I'm excited.
Before, like, my heart starts thumping.
Yeah. I'm ready to play now. Put me in the game now. I came here to prove it. I'm ready to do it. I can't be afraid now. Put me on the stage now. I'm ready to rage now. I feel like an animal stuck in a cage and I'm ready to break out. So what are you afraid of? Those feelings are made up. Get in the game, your moment of fame. Show them what you made of. It's time that we stand up. It's time that we man up. For anyone asking who is the best, we putting our hands up. My time, my time. None of you people can tell me to stop.
Applaud the poet, not the points. All right. Next up, I believe this is the group, Unite.
Black, but I am more than this image you have painted I to be. Black like the night skies. Black, but I am more than this complexion you see. My reflection mirrors the horizon. Black, see my creator is intentional. He molded I under a shaded tree. Black like my forefathers with shackles on feet. Black like the lifeless bodies on decks in summer's heat. Black like the ocean, rocking dead ships to shores by night. Black like the wind that sang lullabies to children ripped from their mother's arms. Black babies, black mothers despised. Black mothers in black with tears in eyes. Black like the bodies on crosses. And black like the ones hung from trees. Black yet, I'm more than this image you've painted I to be. See, I am black excellence, like my forefathers who raised pyramids to the skies. Black queens, black elegance, perfection in the skies. Black, but I am more than this image you have painted I to be.
I am more than what your eyes can see. I am Muslim, I'm Palestinian, I'm Canadian. This is me. You cannot tell who I am without getting to know me. Just like any other person, my roots and actions are what define me. You cannot assume that I'm immune to society's judgment due to my skin color, because terrorist was the first word they uttered soon after they heard Muslim escape my lips. As if it's easy for me to just throw away my identity and be who I am not meant to be, thinking that it's all going to be stress-free. But what you cannot see is a struggle between me and not me. So you might ask,
Why not just play along and be safe?
why not? Fake it till we make it.
Fake it until I can make it, to integrate until I can transmit into this society. But to take this cloth off my head creates anxiety, of which makes my hand shiver, makes my heartbeat linger for just a second longer, until I'm impressed by your perception of how you want me to be. How do I live an identity that frames another? An image that really isn't mine. When what you think, what you perceive, and what you see isn't what I define. When you paint me a label with the prejudice of your mind, and I still have to wear a smile just to prove to you that I am kind. When I'm rallying with racist encounters and forced to abide in appease to your ignorance. When you quote us all as being equal, but laws of this country remind me that I am different. Emancipating papers with subjugating laws. I'm sorry that color, race, gender, nationality was yet another flaw. When you condemn a whole race for the action of one, because apparently all of us were behind the trigger of a gun. When I'm branded as oppressed because of the cloth on my head, and being asked to take it off as it apparently poses a threat. Born in this country, but a second-class citizen. Raised with your teachings, but still not significant. Rejected.
Exiled.
Suspected.
Subjected.
Go back to your own country.
This is my country.
You shouldn't have been given entry.
It's the 21st century, and you still haven't assimilated into our society. Is assimilation your version of free? I am Métis. Do you see what I see? Please humor me my agony. This can't really be all we can be. Like a dying tree, I see sanity, leaves, in the face of complacency and conformity to placate fear and propagate capitalist hate rage, misdirected and true source discredited to make way for policy hell-bent toward a sick normative cage. Because I've opened my mind's eye, I've seen what I've seen. When you're not one of us, another sheep in their dream, when you're never afforded a say, never enough money to play, when they're kind on the surface and kill the next day. I speak for myself. I know what white look privilege gives me, but my question still stands. Do you see what I see? When the floor they piss on is just a well-dressed glass ceiling, you can't know your true height when you've always been kneeling. Their manifest destiny, termed serve and protect, colonial childcare to confuse and infect. See, my pale skin still burns under racist attack. Being half and half cream, I know it's hard to keep track. But I've got infinities carved into the earth of my being. They've done a shit job. We want our land back. So I'll ask you again, do you see what I see? Are your eyes really open? Is your mind really free?
When you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change.
European and indigenous, but we are all so much more than this. All of our heartbeats sound like drums, no matter where your heart is from. When you
Change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. We're more than the pigments of our skins, more than the battles we fight, the losses, the wins. We're more than our limitations, more than our discriminations, more than the endless silence, the violence. We are humans, so stand for me, and I'll stand for you. Let's stand for us.
When
You change the way you look at things, the things you look at change.
I'm not one who judges a book by its cover. We're all human, and it is our duty to stand up for those who need standing and speak up for those who need a voice. We are all human, and it is our duty to preach peace and understanding. So, when you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change.
Why preach peace when it's not voiced in our words? Why turn away from acceptance when it's most needed in this world? When a grouping of individuals only need you by their side? When support makes them powerful and deletes apartheid? No act of change or knowledge is pointless, which is why I ask you to become the voices of the voiceless.
When we change the way we look at things, the things we look at change. Thank you.
I have an 8.9. I have a 9. And I have our first 10.
So how do you guys feel that you did it?
I think it went well. Yeah.
I want to perform again.
Did it help the fact that you were actually performing it live? Because you guys had like a little bit more fire in you, I noticed.
I was like, don't look at the audience. Yeah, I wouldn't make eye contact with them.
100% recommended to someone like me who was always a solo writer, not really wanted to share. I think this is like awesome.
For me, it helped a lot with confidence and learning. Like, I learned a lot from everybody.
The fact that you guys were so committed and that you really were like a team that gelled, like it wouldn't have been a bad thing if there was conflict. I don't think it's always a bad thing. It could have got some really good ideas and that could have been part of the process.
Yeah.
But I think it was really lucky and amazing that you guys all got along and collaborated. Like, I'm really proud of you guys. I'm super proud of you guys. And I think that's sort of what the idea was. How can people come together collaboratively to make some art form, discussion and understanding? And I think it worked out really well.
This collaboration has meant a lot to me, really.
I think collaborating with other artists is very necessary. You sometimes need the other perspective, something that you don't see, something that you don't think about.
Going through this process, I've learned that people are willing to listen to me, and for me that's really profound.
And I've gotten to know my spoken word team members very well. We've shared a lot of laughs.
I changed my perception of a lot of group projects, for sure.
Knowing that I'm not alone, it kind of gives me somebody to turn to, knowing that like I don't have a family just in my household, I have a family outside of that too.